I think it's really important for parents to be mindful and aware of what programs their children are accessing. If they are on these online-based games, that they understand who they're speaking to, the friend groups, having the appropriate parental controls set. All of these things become factors in protecting our students and our children as we try to help them navigate this new era. Unfortunately, there are predators on some of these sites, and we just need to be mindful and be extra protective of our students and our children.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media. And we also ask them questions that we get from parents all over the country in our program. Now, let's get back to the interview.
I'm Marc Baiocco, Superintendent of Clarkstown Central School District. We're located in Rockland County, just outside of New York City, and we service about 8,000 students across 13 schools.
Superintendent, it's so great to have you here. Hello to all of our viewers and listeners all over the country, whether you're a parent, a superintendent, or everyone in between. We love you here at smartsocial.com, and we're excited to talk about how to keep your kids safe on these devices that we give them, whether it's an iPad, an iPhone, or any other smart device, so they can someday be successful and someday shine online at the age of 16 and above when they start to get online in a parent-approved manner. Superintendent, I'm excited to have you here today as we dive into your insights nationwide. The first question that parents have for us that I want to ask you, get your advice on, it's about social media's impact on teens. And the question is, how are you seeing social media impact teens' self-esteem, motivation, and decision-making in your district?
So I look at this from two lenses. One is a parent. I have 3 kids of my own. One of my daughter is 14 years old. So she's of the age where she's now entering into the social media realm. And I look at that and see just from a parental perspective as to how it's affecting my own children. And I try to use that information to make informed decisions within the school district. I will say that social media has certainly taken a life of its own among students, both positively and negatively. You know, I think too often we focus on the negative aspects of social media. There are a lot of positive aspects to it. It certainly exposes students in a different way to extracurricular activities and things of the sort. And they're able to utilize that to sort of celebrate a lot of the accomplishments that they have in those areas. Regarding self-esteem, we see that there's a lot of recent research that has come out pertaining to students' self-esteem and what social media, in fact, is doing to them, whether creating body dysphoria or whatever the case may be, where students have this perception about themselves that may or may not be reality. Looking at the motivation and decision-making, oftentimes we'll see where students have lapses of judgment and utilizing things that they've seen on social media and applying them to their actual lives, which could have negative outcomes. It could also have positive outcomes. So I always want to look at both aspects of social media and not say just simply banning social media is necessarily the solution to all of our problems.
Yeah, fair enough. Agreed. Not just the negative, but what's a balanced approach? I love that. The next question I have for you, Superintendent, so many parents are asking us, has to do with screen time. And a lot of superintendents, for all of our viewers right now, we have probably 165 to 170 superintendents on the podcast giving us insights nationwide. That's what Smart Social does, is listens nationwide. And maybe 2 months before it hits your community, for our listeners, maybe Smart Social is alerting you as to what we're seeing. And that's really the benefit and really the blessing of this podcast where we get to learn. And most of our superintendents, the reason I tell you this is they often say, and correct me if I'm wrong, they say, Josh, out of all these issues that we talk about, screen time addiction seems to be the number one. If we could get rid of that, kids wouldn't be addicted to TikTok and Snapchat, and they wouldn't even want to be on these. And so screen time we take very seriously. What are your tips that parents can do to better manage screen time at home?
Well, it's similar to what we do here in the school district. We have applications that we're able to use to monitor students' screen time and determine whether or not the time that they're spending on their devices is utilized in the best manner, whether or not it's time on task, so to speak, regarding schoolwork. I think that there are so many things at our fingertips. I use a Family Link app myself, where I'm able to monitor my own children's screen time and determine what exactly they're visiting. You know, not getting into all of the details of where they're going and things of that sort, but really looking at what applications they're accessing the most and whether or not they're beneficial for them. The other thing I would be mindful of is that, as we're shifting into a much more technological age, what we need to also recognize is that students are spending a lot more time on screens because they're doing so much more work on their computers. So regardless of what the portal is that the school district is using, most school districts are engaged in somehow or another a portal or an application where students are submitting their work online, things of the sort. So being mindful of all of that, to take the appropriate breaks, making sure that we encourage those things at home so that it becomes that symbiotic relationship, that parents and students are working together and that the parents and schools are working together to ensure that their students are on the right sites and for the appropriate amount of time based on their age development.
Love that symbiotic. What a good phrase to talk about how we need to work together, not only as educators, but as parents and to help the students and also work with the students. So let's go ahead and run through this. For all of our viewers, parents are often asking us this really big question as well. Josh, what makes these apps so addictive? Such a great question. Let's hear from two students as they explain why they can't stop scrolling.
I think the most addictive part about social media is the constant new content that you see. You're always being introduced to new content, especially on apps like TikTok. I think the short videos, when they end so quick, you start to lose your ability to have a longer attention span. I've caught myself finding long TikTok videos and I can't stand watching the whole thing.
This generation really adapted to the fact that we don't have a large attention span. We really only concentrate for 30 seconds. So getting information that quickly, I think, enables us to just want to keep watching more. You don't even need to care about what they're presenting to you, but just the fact that you can sit there and watch it and you're oddly enjoying it. Social media is pretty addictive. People said it's like a drug. So it is addictive because you can't stop watching it. Your mind just plays on loop and it enjoys the fulfillment of everything firing in your brain to just keep watching.
So true. And for parents watching this, you probably know this is from one of our amazing live events that we have every single week where we have real students, real parents, real educators in it. The next question that we get, parents ask us all the time is, Josh, is social media positive or negative for my kiddo? Great question. Let's hear from a real student. And they show us why video apps are so addictive for them and their friends.
Part of what makes social media so addictive is how the algorithms are based on using content to judge whether or not someone is worthy and using people's short attention spans to evaluate them as pieces of code, which also means that social media doesn't really care about your opinion, but really what keeps you on that platform longer, whether that's from likes, comments, and engagement, sharing it to other people, or even just watching it through. The algorithm judges you as a piece of data and whether or not someone should be praised for being controversial or thrown away for not being exciting enough, even if they're pouring their heart and soul into the content. It is a heartless beast. When I spend too much time on social media, that can look like being happy because something really cool happened in my friend's life. They went hiking. A friend of mine saw snow for the first time a couple of days ago, and it can make me feel really happy and energized. But other times, it can just be really draining. It can be really negative. It depends who I'm following. It depends what's being posted.
So many true little facts from that student. It's a heartless beast, she says. Now, for all of our viewers and listeners, remember that your partner school district has gotten you weekly live parent events and replays. If you join one of them, you get a $5 Starbucks gift card from my foundation. You get to protect your family, protect your community, and help our nonprofit get better. Teen-led video lessons in each program and a premium parent newsletter. Principals, Josh, we had 50 social media incidents per year last year. Now we're down to 5 incidents, and I have more time to be a school principal. For all of our principals watching, this is our dream for you. If we can help, let us know. Directors say the 50 plus live events give our community 10 times the engagement because they have a chance to join on their phone without software on a date and time that works with their schedule. And superintendents seem to like us. The dashboard, Josh, gives me parent engagement data to share with my board and my district leadership team. School districts nationwide steal our plan and run with it. Here's our secret. We teach every single month on something different, and we have parents vote on content as we go through. A lot of really great stuff. We're back to the superintendent. The next question I want to ask you, superintendent, it's about avoiding strangers and dangerous situations online. This is a really big program for us in February that we would to protect people. And I want to talk to you about what is your advice to parents and students to avoid talking to strangers and avoiding dangerous situations online?
Well, first and foremost, I love the work that you're doing because what we're doing is we're teaching students how to use social media or their devices responsibly. And that's really what it's all about. When we're looking at this whole concept of encountering strangers online, we need to be mindful that our children are not only on their handheld devices, they're also on things like PlayStation and Xbox and communicating with students or people across the world, and they don't necessarily know who they're communicating with. I think it's really important for parents to be mindful and aware of what programs their children are accessing. If they are on these video-based games or online-based games, I should say, that they understand who they're speaking to, the friend groups, having the appropriate parental controls set. All of these things become factors in protecting our students and our children as we try to help them navigate this new era.
Yeah, so well said. It's so dangerous. And many of our audience members are, wondering, how do I keep my kids safe from this? And parents, one of the biggest things that we've noticed for our audience is a lot of strangers can come from video games and a lot of the screen time issues. So, Superintendent, I'd love to get your feedback. What's your advice to parents and teens about video game safety and managing video game screen time?
It's just making sure that, number one, that the students that are children that are playing these games, they're playing age appropriate games. And then once we start to get into whatever it is that they're engaged in, ensuring that if there is an online activity or any type of chat-based activity, that we know that we have the proper parental controls set up, that we're aware of who they're befriending on these sites, because this becomes critical as they start to engage more and more in these video games or become better at them and more competitive. Naturally, their network's going to expand. And unfortunately, there are predators on some of these sites. And we just need to be mindful and be extra protective of our students and our children.
Excellent answer, Superintendent. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much to all of our viewers here today. Remember, every single week we have a live incredible event under an hour. You get a $5 Starbucks gift card if your school district is a partner district of ours. We want to make sure that you have everything you need to keep your kids safe. We've been doing this for over a decade now. We've traversed the whole country, 29 different states, speaking to 250,000 kids pre-COVID. And we're bringing to you the very best information that we've learned. Thank you to all of our listeners, to our partner school districts, to all the newscasters that have put us on TV. We're looking forward to it. And Superintendent, especially thank you to you. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And to the rest of you, little tiny shameless plug. Remember, no matter what you're doing, make sure to keep it light, bright, and polite online because your kids are watching. We'll see all of you on the next episode. Have a great rest of the day. Take care. Thanks for listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. Smart Social helps parents understand technology and social media to keep their kids safe and successful. Be sure to join one of our weekly online live events to become the smartest parent on the block so you can keep your kids safe and protect their future. Also, don't miss our 450 plus online resources and replays you can watch on demand in multiple languages. Are you a school district wanting to unlock these resources for your parents? Reach out to us so we can protect your whole community each week. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next episode.